Hello everyone and welcome to The 24, where we attempt to save the world, or at least the World Championship, in 24 minutes. I've been joined by a panel of experts. We've been joined by Rashad Miller, the host of GG's Live, Pro Tour champion Simon Goertzen, Hall of Famer and Pro Tour winner Mr. Randy Buehler, and of course, the Pro Tour historian Brian David Marshall. Our mission is to find the top 4 players at this year's World Championship, and we want you to tweet us your top 4 using the hashtag MTGChampT4 at the end of the show. But first, who are these 24 players who have come together here in Nice, France to battle it out? Let's find out. We're going to start with 4 Player of the Year winners. We're going to begin with Yuya Watanabe. The clock's on the stream. Start the clock. Randy Buehler, Yuya Watanabe, go.
All right, we can talk about Yuya Watanabe's third Pro Tour top 8 in Hawaii. He's in form right now. That's all well and good. But let's talk a little more historical context. This guy has won 7 Grand Prix. Only Kai Bude has won 7 Grand Prix. That's it. That's the whole list. He's got 2 different Player of the Year titles. Another thing that only Kai Bude has also done. For me, though, you look at Yuya and you start lining up the players who are here at this tournament. He's 3rd in career pro points. He's 3rd in career earnings. There's 5 Hall of Famers in this field. Yuya's not even eligible for another 3 years. Quite simply, Yuya Watanabe is the man. He's the man you should have in your top 4. He's the man I bet everybody else here is going to have in their top 4 too.
I'm not so sure that's true. BDM, speak to him.
You forgot Rookie of the Year, by the way. Just
also, yeah, Rookie of the Year. Well, lots of people have done that one. That one's not nearly as impressive.
All right.
I thought maybe that that title would mean a little more to you, but okay.
Okay. Rookie of the Year and lots of other things, Yuya Watanabe. Number 2 of our Players of the Year, Rashad. Make the case for Owen Turton in the top 4.
All right. There are quite a few people on this list that you're going to have to use a lot of this 1 minute to talk about to convince to be in your top 4. But if you've watched any Magic the Gathering over the past 3 or 4 years, you know who Owen Turton is. Member of Peach Garden Oak, you already know what that team is. 7 GP top 8s, sounds like a lot. He did that in 1 year, 2011, when he won Player of the Year that year. He has 16 total GP top 8s, 2 PT top 8s, 300 lifetime pro points. His career, he's a young man. He's still ready to do more, and I think he's going to do a lot this tournament.
Okay, here's the thing. On those stats, his worst single stat within the 24 is Pro Tour win percent. That suggests he dominates the very good and isn't quite there against the very best, and this is better than the very best. Discuss.
Well, he's only been playing like the Magic at this level, like you said, for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, he played on the Pro Tour. I mean, he used to lose to Rashad on the Pro Tour.
Well, I'm not saying losing to me on the Pro Tour is a good or a bad thing, but it shows how his game has progressed. That was back in 2008. He did, he was on the Pro Tour. He was at these Pro Tours. He had to win Pro Tour qualifiers to get there. Then he started winning all the GPs. Well, he started top 8 in all the GPs.
We're running out of time. Brian David Marshall, you're up next. Josh Layton, tell the viewers why.
Look, Josh Layton is one of the most consistent players on the Pro Tour, and somehow one of the most consistently underrated players on the Pro Tour. Quiet, efficient, loves to play test, 5 Pro Tour top 8s. This guy is a slam dunk Hall of Fame candidate for me, and I think a top 4 at the World Championship will just gild that Hall of Fame ballot when he's eligible in a couple more years. Oh, by the way, he has played in this event now for 3 straight years. He's one of only 3 players to do that.
Did he play all 3? Did he play in the first one?
Well, we didn't see him play.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing. I was in the
but he was there
all day.
But he was there. He was definitely there.
You are terrible people. I tell you someone who is not a terrible person, and that is Jeremy Dasani. Simon Goertzen, tell us about the European All-Star.
Of course, I get to talk about the European here. We all know that he won Pro Tour Theros, and that's amazing on itself. But I've been seeing him live on stage in the feature match area in Europe. And when you see him, he's basically, it almost looks like he's in pain. That's how competitive he is. And he racks up these GP top 8s. If you are meeting Jeremy Dasani at X and 2, you are in for a rough ride. This guy is just amazing, and he has such a career in front of him.
Okay, anyone think that there is a weakness there? 7 points this year. That's all he has. He has less pro points than anyone else in the top 25 rankings. Resting on his laurels?
I do know he would have liked to have split his 90 points from last season across 2 seasons. He's looking for rollover minutes.
Nice.
So he can go platinum
All right.
off of 90.
Our next group, it's 3 more Pro Tour champions, all from the last year. So to tell us about Ivan Floch of the Slovak Republic, here comes Simon Gerson.
Ivan Floch, he was always in the shadows, it felt like, and I think he met Stanislav Sivka, and Stanislav Sivka built most of his decks, and that suddenly changed everything. He was already winning at Limited, suddenly he started winning at Constructed as well. Then he got a Pro Tour title, a Pro Tour top 8, and I think he now has his mental game where he wants to be. I could definitely see him in the top 4.
Well, I mean, he's got 2 consecutive Pro Tour top 8s, right? I mean, who does that? That's just absurd.
Right. And he knows a little something about competing on the World Championship stage, too, as a World Team Champion.
So Simon's talked about essentially a team there of Ivan Floch, Stanislav Sivka. Randy, you're up next with someone whose team is himself and a mouse, Sean McLaren.
Yeah, Sean McLaren's numbers are absolutely insane. This is a guy, this is actually only going to be the 3rd Premier event he's played where Modern is featured prominently. Last 2 Modern Premier events he's played, Pro Tour Born of the Gods, 2nd place. Grand Prix Minneapolis, 3rd place. Like, the man doesn't lose. He's actually got fewer Grand Prix than anybody else in the entire field. He's the only guy in the field with single-digit Grand Prix. But he's got 2 top 8s there. And all of this has happened in the last 12 months. I mean, he's just in spectacular form. Honolulu proved he can win at Standard 2. I think this is a guy who could absolutely take that lone wolf storyline and take it all the way into the world's top 4.
Randy, you're someone who has played with some terrific deck builders on your team. CMU Blue was like the original, right, for you? Are you not concerned that McLaren is there on his own, having to go through VMA, go through Modern, go through KTK, go through Standard? No one can get through 4 formats alone.
You know what those formats all have in common?
Go on.
They're all on Magic Online.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say that Just Guy was vital.
Very good.
Sean McLaren, the Jess guy.
All right, we're going to come to the Jess guys later on. But now it's Patrick Chapin and over to the historian.
Look, the thing about Patrick Chapin is you just need to look at his interview after he won Pro Tour Journey into Knicks, right? This is a guy who, had been striving to win a Pro Tour his whole career. He's had a lot of success, hadn't won a Pro Tour, wins his Pro Tour, and then he's kind of like, well, the work's not done yet. This was my PTQ. For his entire career, which, by the way, is longer than anybody else playing in this field, he has wanted to be the world champion. And he has been laser focused on this. He feels like he has got an incredible advantage in Standard over the field and has been playtesting with so much focus that he did not let Paul Rietzel, who he's been working with, watch football on a Sunday. I don't, if you follow
No
Paul
Patriots
Rietzel,
for you.
Yeah, if you follow Paul Rietzel on Twitter, you know how impossible this seems. So, Patrick Chapin has the pedigree, he has the preparation, and, I know we don't want to talk about wanting it more, but, this is a guy who this is all he wants, is to be the world champion since he was a child.
Okay, 4 Hall of Famers are up next. We go to Rashad, we go to Paulo de Rosa. What can't you say about him? Off you go.
I mean, what can't you say about Paulo? I mean, he's got 9 PT top 8s. No one else has 9 PT top 8s in this tournament. 15 GP top 8s. He won Pro Tour San Juan. That was a beautiful city, by the way, and a lovely tournament that I'd like to add. GP Singapore champ. Over 400 lifetime pro points. And if you look at the head-to-head percentages and just in Standard and in Modern and just across the board, Paulo destroys this field. He just destroys everyone percentage-wise.
Randy, you like maths. Is there anyone in the field who has a higher difference between their actual historical resume and the attention being paid to them coming into this weekend than Paulo?
No, it's a great point. I'm not a big fan of those winning percentage stats, but you look at Paulo, that's a 10, 12, plus year career. Putting up that constructed winning percentage over that many different years, super impressive.
Simon, Rafael Levy, go.
Rafael Levy, we've heard about the 400 points from Paulo Vitor. Rafael Levy is closing in on 600 points. That's just incredible. And you might be asking yourself, what has Raphael Levy won in the last year as well? Can I remind you of the World Magic Cup? And don't tell me that he's been carried by Team France. He's the one carrying people. He's the driving force behind the French Magic community. And he's here with a great team in his home country. Raphael Levy, ladies and gentlemen.
Worth noting, Jeremy Dasani, we've talked about all his success. He credits that success to Raphael Levy.
I've been sitting next to Raphael in the booth in Europe, and he's so sharp, razor sharp.
Someone else who's razor sharp, another Hall of Famer, of course, Billy Jensen, BDM.
So William Jensen, just off of his Hall of Fame induction a year ago, proceeded to put up just a ridiculous year where he set the record for the most top 8s in a season. Continued to mount better and better finishes over the Pro Tour season until he got that 5th Pro Tour top 8, which he felt like, he was like, thank God I got that, because I know I'm in the Hall of Fame, but I didn't feel like I was up to it without that 5th top 8. And the thing that's crazy about as good a year as he had, it just felt like he was getting stronger over the season. And this is a guy who has been to the World Championship before. Even though he wasn't playing here last year, he was here last year helping Reed Duke, helping him prepare as Reed made his run at second place finish. And so now he, Owen, and Reed are all here together, all qualified this year. And I'm expecting huge things from Jensen this weekend.
Randy, a new Hall of Famer is up next, Paul Rietzl.
Yeah, the thing about Paul, we talk a lot about Paul's one of the few guys who has a day job who's in this field. I mean, if you talk about day jobs that don't also involve playing cards, I think it's just him and Martel. And on the one hand, that starts to sound like, oh, is that just an excuse? Is that how Paul? No, what it means is when Paul makes the time to show up, he delivers. His career earning numbers are spectacular. His top 8 percentages of the events that he's able to make the time to play are really good. And he's here. This was a very important event to Paul. He put in the time. He arranged his life so that he could get here. That means good things. I mean, when Paul comes and brings his A game, he is really hard to stop.
So how scary is it that he spent a week in Denver with Patrick?
Very.
Right? I mean, terrifying.
For the rest of the field.
Yeah.
How scared are you that step links isn't legal in any of these formats?
Okay.
Maybe some Mythic and Vintage Masters. I'm not sure.
All right, let's move on. We're going to go to 2 well-known chess players now who bring the love of the blacks and the whites together on the board with their Magic career. So let's see whether there'll be a chess guy ascendancy. Off you go, BDM. Tom Martel, if you can still speak.
I don't know if I can keep going after that.
Go on.
Well, you talked about black and white. I think about cartel aristocrats. I think about Tom Martel winning Pro Tour Gate Crash. And if you look at Tom Martel during that span of time, over like a 3-year period, he was the most dominant player in the game. He had a 3-year median right around that event that makes Luis Scott Vargas blush with envy.
Okay, I've got a problem with Tom Martel, and it's this. He goes fantastic on day 2 of a Pro Tour, and part of that is because he's always behind the 8 ball, because he's always sitting there, it seems, in the last year or so, at 2 and 4, 1 and 3, 1 and 2. When is he actually going to come out on a first morning and go, I'm Tom Martel, I'm awesome at this, 3-0 VMA draft? Is that the format where he actually just dominates limited?
That would have to be this weekend.
Right. Okay, so that's Tom Martel. Let's go to our other chess champion, if you will, Rashard Stanislav Sitka. Is he your checkmate?
Wow.
You're welcome.
You just don't want to get through this, do you?
No.
That was good. That was very good.
Bless you.
Talking about chess, Tom Martel talks a good game, but Sitka is actually the real deal. He's actually a master. Takes a great mind, and it takes a great mind to bring a deck like Second Sunrise Eggs to a tournament that no one thought was an actual real deck. He played that deck, the deck that no one thought they can play, no one thought they can win with. Won the Pro Tour. That's why I think he's awesome.
Fair. I'm going to move on to our next group. We've got 4 title holders for you next, because the goodness keeps on coming. How about the reigning world champion? Randy, talk to us about Char Shahar.
Yeah, you want proof that somebody's capable of winning this tournament? How about the fact that he won it last year? Yeah, Char Shahar is the defending champ. He's been on a great run. I mean, he's still relatively young. He's only 21 years old. There's actually only 2 guys in the field under 24. And Shahar has put up, 100+ pro points. He's put up like $100,000 in career earnings. He's done all that in about 3 years. 7 GP top 8s. 3 of those are wins. So he's a winner. He's a closer. He's won this tournament before. I mean, I think he's ready. He wants to hold on to that title. He wants to just run it back.
He wants to. He's one of only 3 players without a Pro Tour top 8 in this 24. How come he hasn't figured that out?
He's 21.
Yeah, look at his
Give
age.
him some time.
He's so mature when you talk to him, and I'm sure it's going to be in his future. We can't really expect people that young to already have Pro Tour top 8.
Do you know who had 3 Grand Prix wins and a World Championship before he had a Pro Tour top 8?
Who?
Kai Buda.
There we go. So from the winner last year to the second place finisher, Rashard, talk to us about Reed Duke. Why should he be in the top 4?
All right, I'm not going to tell you how good Reed Duke is at Magic because you already know. You already know how good Reed Duke is, and everyone else in Peach Guard knows. Reed Duke is good guy Reed Duke. You know what happened after he won his first GP? He helped push a broken down car off the road.
With his trophy?
With this trophy on the ground. Set his trophy down for just a moment to help a broken down car get help, on the road.
Was that your car?
It wasn't my car.
Okay.
But I'm sure if it was, he would have helped. Even though I drive a Jeep and it's kind of heavy, I'm sure he would have made the sacrifice for me.
So basically, you're just saying he pushed a car, therefore he'll be in the top 4 of the World
I mean,
Championship.
I can rattle off that he has 11 GP top 8s and a PT top 8. He has 2 GP wins, and he is the Magic Online champion. A lot of people play Magic Online, and it's hard to be the champion of that tournament.
I'll tell you someone else who plays Magic Online, the reigning Magic Online champion, Lars Dam. Danish, but from Thailand, where he's living right now. So BDM, the Thai Dane. What goes on there?
Well, this is one of our dream chasers this weekend. Lars is playing in the World Championship. He's also going to be playing in the World Magic Cup as the captain of Thailand. And, he does not have great results at the Pro Tour. He's played in, I think, maybe 9 or 10 Pro Tours. Very, very innocuous results. But this is a guy who, when you look at his Magic Online resume, when you look at like a 70% win percentage in Magic Online Premier events over the course of an account's life, that's getting into the territory of a Reed Duke or a Sean McLaren. It's pretty gaudy territory, and maybe not this year, but this is a guy who I think you can expect really big things from if he puts that same attention into playing physical Magic.
And guys, I'm sure you're all really looking forward to saying the names of the Thai team during the World Magic Cup. That's always a favorite. We do a lot of practice on those. Right, number 17 is up next. Sam Black.
Sam Black, I think I have to give him credit and take a bit of more of a methodical approach here. If you would ask him why he's going to be in the top 4, he'd probably present you a list. Like, that's how he works, and that's what he does. He builds amazing decks. I think he's great at metagaming, and if you ask him to prepare for a format, that's what he does. I've heard from good sources that he has over 100 VMA drafts under his belt. That's incredible. That guy, I expect him to just 3-0 the format tomorrow.
It's not just over 100. It's 103 exactly, because he has a spreadsheet with every deck he drafted, the results of every archetype, and probably what the weather was like outside on that day, so he can adjust for atmospheric conditions.
Okay, well, Sam Black has not won a Grand Prix or a Pro Tour, but our next 4 players have trophies. They're Grand Prix winners. Let's go to Jacob Wilson and Randy. Take it away.
All right, I got a recipe for you. 19 years old, lots of Grand Prix success, youngest player in the field, close to 100 pro points. He's at the age of 19. That's Char Shahar last year, right? That's the recipe for winning the World Championship. That's how it was done. That's who Jacob is. I feel like he really is this year's Shahar. The success that we've seen on the Grand Prix circuit, he's actually already translated it into a Pro Tour top 8 with the second at Born of the Gods as well. I mean, I think this is maybe a dark horse for top 4 because he doesn't have the career stats. And at 19, you can't have the gaudy resume yet, but absolutely a dark horse candidate who could completely make this top 4.
Is there a non-zero or a 0 chance that he will not be playing a birthing pod deck in Modern?
Yeah, that deck's pretty good. It's still absolutely the thing Modern revolves around.
Yeah, and I noticed that all the people he tests with are like 3 of the top 4 Modern players, arguably, of the last 2 years. So Sam Pardee and Josh McLean and so on. So I think that's pretty given. Li Shi Chan is up next. Rashard.
All right, Li Shi Tian, 3 PT top 8s, has 4 GP top 8s with a win back in 2008. But that's, stats, there's a lot of stats. You've been looking at slides of stats for a while. If you want to see emotion and excitement in the feature match area, you want to see Li Shitian in there. Do you remember that top deck with the Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck and just last Pro Tour, Pro Tour Cons and Tuck Air? That's why I want to see him there. It's going to make the top 8 fun.
Really would, that's for sure. All right, we're going to go to Willie Adel next. And BDM, you get to talk about one of Brazil's finest.
Well, you know what? Willie Adel's been playing high-level Magic for a number of years. He kind of had a little bit of a lull, sort of in the middle of the decade, but has been, on a tear of late. And again, one of the dream chasers. So he's going to be playing in the World Championship. He's also going to be playing in the World Magic Cup. He's really we see that he is the driving force behind Brazilian Magic and about bringing a new generation of Brazilian Magic players onto the scene.
Now, I think that might be a problem. It's wonderful. It's clearly wonderful for Brazilian Magic. I'm not sure it's great for Willie Adel, because when you focus on Thiago Saporito and the guys from Rio, and you care about them coming up and you take pride in their GP top 16s and top 32s, I'm not sure you're concentrating on your GP top 1s.
I think this guy is so immersed in Magic right now, and thinking about it and talking about it all the time. I have a lot of confidence in Willie Adel. I think Willie Adel is a fine choice to top 4 this week.
Okay, another Grand Prix champion. It's Nam Sung Wook. Simon, away you go.
Yes, and that would be GP Melbourne just this year. And my favorite story from Nam Sung Wook is how he more or less randomly was on the team for Pro Tour Born of the Gods, and then his teammates realized this guy we're testing with is logging into his Magic Online account, and he is an absolute beast. He's the #1 Magic Online player, basically. So they, by accident, they invited one of the best players you could test with for the Modern Pro Tour. That's just incredible, and he has the pro points to back him up.
Okay, now here's the problem there. I know we don't want to talk numbers all the time, but 24th of these 24 in Premier Play, 24th of these 24 in Draft, 24th of these 24 in GP win percentage. Now, someone has to be 24th, which obviously makes them, maybe the 27th best player in the world right now. But nonetheless, he's got to beat the 23 people ahead of him in those categories. I think it's a tough ask, but we'll see, because our last group is the 3, air quotes, rookies, we're calling these. Well, that's slightly misleading, as we'll see as we start with Brian David Marshall talking about Kentaro Yamamoto.
So you may not, recognize Kentaro Yamamoto's name just yet, but he's got, he's got 2 Pro Tour top 8s, and this is the guy who ruined Standard for you last year. That's the thing you need to know. This is the guy who ruined it. Nobody was playing Pack Rat. They were gathering dust in the back of people's trade binders. He builds a mono black deck for Pro Tour Theros. Pack Rat is insane. He top 8s that event.
You're supposed to be arguing for.
This is why you want to pick him, though. This is a guy, no one played this card for a year.
Pack Rat's made some people miserable. I'm not saying all people. I'm just saying.
No one played that card for a year. This was the guy who found it. This is the guy who really is responsible for the mono black deck. I think that this is, he's also, top 4 in Standard in this field. I really think if you're looking for a dark horse candidate for top 4, Kentaro Yamamoto is your he's your rat in the race.
Congratulations, that's a great idea. You're in the right country, but the wrong guy. And here's Randy to explain why Yukiichikawa is, in fact, the Japanese dark horse to win Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, Yukiichikawa has only played 5 Pro Tours. Like, he's got the least Pro Tours played in the field, tied actually with the actual Rookie of the Year, Ray Perez, we're about to talk about. But you know what makes you good at Magic is playing lots of Magic. And that's what Yukiichikawa does on stream, on Nico Nico. He is one of, I believe, probably the most watched Magic streamer in the world. He's playing Magic constantly, and what that has translated into is back-to-back Pro Tour top 8s. 5 Pro Tour starts lifetime. He's got an insane 2 out of 5 conversion rate. Those 2 top 8s demonstrate this is a guy who's in form. This is, yeah, like you say, this is maybe your Japanese dark horse who can kind of come out of nowhere and sneak into this top 4.
Rashard, we're almost out of time, but it is time for the actual rookie, the Rookie of the Year, Ray Perez Jr. Off we go, make the case.
All right, I probably have the most experience watching Ray Perez Jr. play. I'm in the Midwest. He's from Michigan. He's actually testing with Ari Lax, so that's a good thing. Testing with a Pro Tour champion. But you may have heard of, say, Andrew Beckstrom, who is on the U.S. national team. Those 2 tournaments, in the midst of his heater. Perez Jr. was right in the thick of things both times. He almost top 8 at the World Magic Cup qualifier. He could have been on the team. And the
TCG
yeah, the
50K?
TCG 50K. He was in the top 8 of that. Barely, he was in he made the semifinals of that too. He's got game.
He's got game. He's going to have to up his game, though, because my word, look, someone's an underdog. I'm just going to stick my hand in the air above the parapet, the archer's parapet, if you will, and say, Ray Perez, if you want to support an underdog, he is your man, because if he monsters his way through this field, he is something extraordinary, because the field is extraordinary. We are out of time, but while the people at home choose their top 4, I want the top 4 from each of you. Rashad, you're up. Who are your 4?
Well, I'm going to pick Yuya Garden Oath. So Yuya Watanabe, Owen Turton, Reed Duke, and William Jensen.
All right, Simon Gerson, your final 4.
I'm biased towards Players of the Year. I don't think that's a bad bias, though. I'm going to give you Owen Turtenwald, Josh Layton, Yuya Watanabe, and now you might think, naturally, it has to be Jeremy Dasani, but it's not. It's actually Rafael Levy. I've big faith in him. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Okay, good effort. 2 out of 2, pretty decent. Randy, what do you got?
I think Owen and Yuya are the easy ones. I go back and forth on my final. Is it Owen over Yuya or Yuya over Owen? I think those are the 2 easiest picks. My semifinalists, right now, I think William Jensen, and I'm gonna go Sean McLaren.
Interesting.
I believe.
Interesting. Will it be a Formula 1 finish for McLaren? Brian David Marshall, who's your final 4?
I have Even Flock. I have Kentaro Yamamoto, my Japanese dark horse.
Nice.
I have William Jensen, but fulfilling the promise he made in Atlanta, I have your world champion, Patrick Chapin.
Okay. Well, I don't get to have an opinion because I'm just hosting, but you do.
Oh, I'm sure you have an opinion.
Do you think? It's him. It's him, just so you know. But we want to know what you at home think. Join us at hashtag MTGChampT4. Put the 4 names of the players you think will be in the top 4 on Sunday. And remember, you had a head start because you're watching this on Tuesday lunchtime while we're sitting here on Monday and no one's played any Magic yet. So you can pick all the 3 and O's from the VMA draft if you like. But guess what, guys? I still think we're going to be right. So, to Rashad Miller, Simon Goertzen, Randy Buehler, Brian David Marshall, that was the 24 here at Nice.